very nerve-wracking. All right, hey guys, so in about 20 minutes, Star Trek Discovery is going to debut. I'm going to watch it with my sister, and then afterwards we are going to shoot our review. So if you didn't check it out, just a few days ago we did a ranking of all 13/14 of the Star Trek movies, and so basically, obviously we're Star Trek fans, and we want to talk about the show.
You're going to hit me in the face.
That's just true. I actually am. So, very excited about the show. So, that's actually the reason we did the ranking, was to promote the fact that we were going to talk about the TV show as it debuted, watch it together, so it's something fun we could do. So, at the same time, I think we're both really nervous about this, right?
I am so incredibly nervous that we were downstairs, and my husband was like, so what's your predictions? And I was like, oh, I'm so nervous as to whether or not this is actually going to be good, or whether or not I'm going to want to dig a hole. And because it's being produced by people who don't actually like Star Trek. Is that your mom? Seriously? Did you seriously just think I'm his mom? Wow, okay. No, I'm his sister. This takes place before the original series, but after Enterprise. It's supposed to be about 10 years before. Okay, that's better. I'm glad you were just joking, because I was about to be seriously insulted. It takes place about 10 years before the original series and a significant time after Enterprise. And
yeah, so, I mean, I think the problem... So, someone just commented, is that your daughter? You guys are killing us. Try not to read what they're saying. It's going to throw us off.
It is.
But so...
Someone just said, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Chandler.
All right, I'm going to put a Post-it note on the screen now. Wait, that's where the camera's at. Doesn't work. So, anyway, I just don't even know what to expect, because even tonally speaking... I just rewatched the trailer, and it just feels like dark Star Trek.
Yeah, it feels like dark Star Trek. Levity. It looks like it's trying to be an action show and not trying to do it's not trying to be a Star Trek show, and I'm really worried.
And it looked like it's about war.
It's supposed to be about the Klingon War, which would make sense, but for a timeline of that, but it's.
Stop reading the comments.
I can't. They keep popping up.
Yeah, so that it's like, I think they've even been they haven't, I think, even made it clear which timeline it's in. Because they've said things that made it seem like it was in both. Yeah,
the timeline, they originally claimed it was going to be in the Prime universe, and then they switched it over to they gave non-distinct comments that implied it might be in the JJ verse, and the uniforms certainly look more like the JJ verse, and the stupid Klingons look like the JJ verse. So we really don't know where it's going to end up.
Yeah. So, all right, if we were to say, what best case scenario, what do you think this is going to be for you?
Well, best case scenario, this is going to end up like Next Gen's first season, where it looks like it's going to be really terrible and then it gets better. That's best case scenario, because they're not selling me on it right now.
All right, I think that's the thing for me, is like, rewatching the trailers, I just keep going, I'm not excited. Like, I'm doing this because I know that it's something I'm interested in, watching along, something we could do together,
yes.
Finally a project that made sense to do this with. But like, I rewatched the trailer just right before you got here, and I went, even as a sci-fi show, I'm not as excited about. Like, I'm more excited about the Seth MacFarlane, the Orville one. That's like, and I feel that's going to be truer to Star Trek than this, which is crazy to me. And I'm not a Seth MacFarlane fan.
Yeah, that's why I haven't watched Orville yet, because I was very worried about the humor, and so. And also, I'm struggling with, they've got characters that are in the original series, and the people that they're casting, the way they're playing it doesn't look like it, or they don't seem like they'll be able to play that character, which has me very, very worried about how it's going to end up turning out in the end.
Yeah, it's all in all.
Harry Mudd.
So yeah, Harry Mudd. It's with Rainn Wilson playing him, who does not at all have the same energy. But and I like Rainn. I'm a huge fan of The Office, so naturally Rainn Wilson to say he's going to be on Star Trek. That's awesome. And then
you cast him as Harry Mudd,
and you go,
what? Who? Why?
And I was the
characters don't make sense.
Pretty sure he was in Galaxy Quest as one of the aliens. I think.
Might be. I don't know for sure.
I believe that is true. But so, yeah, just all in all, I really legitimately feel like I'm going to end up liking Orville a lot more than I like Star Trek. Even like this past week's episode of the Orville, touching on all sorts of stuff that we talked about a little bit, that, all sorts of controversial type stuff, tackling current relevant social issues, using a story, even the structure, everything about it was such just like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Just like that's exactly what it felt like with dick jokes. Some pretty crass ones. So it's very weird. But and that like just looking at this one, I'm just seeing being like, and I'm pointing at you guys. If you guys are Star Trek Discovery, you're not. You're people watching us talk about it. So I'm just so nervous. This is going to be bland sci-fi with some Star Trek-like things named in it.
Yeah.
With a little Star Trek lore sprinkled on it.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of Star Trek lore, some interesting things. I hope that it goes better than it looks so far. Right now, it has me a little worried that the bits that they've included for the new alien races that they're introducing have not got me interested in it. When you have in the trailer the my race exists to predict death, and somebody in this group is going to die, that just comes off as weird, and it doesn't get you going, oh, that sounds like an interesting race. That instead gets you going, what evolutionary idea are you coming up with where the race evolves solely to tell you that someone's going to die? So that'd be a depressing planet.
Rex Trek just said that he said it looks kind of like the new Battlestar Galactica, which is funny that we call that new Battlestar Galactica because it's like 13 years old now. But if this turns out at like Star Trek Battlestar Galactica, it'll be one of those ones where I tend to not be a purist in things. So if it's something kind of like with JJ Trek, it's so different from normal Star Trek, but still enjoyable. I can enjoy it for what it is and be annoyed it's not true to Star Trek at the same time. If this is like Battlestar Galactica, tonally type stuff with Star Trek, because they said it's going to be a story arc, not episodic, I would very much enjoy the show and still be very frustrated. It's not like, you're taking Star Trek out of Star Trek.
Yeah, because so each time they did a new series, there was a new tone and a new incarnation in the way they did it. And it works very well with how they did. Each had a different feel, but they all felt like Star Trek. Even Enterprise, which was very different, still had a lot of the feel of Star Trek. And I'm not sure from the way they've done the previews so far if this will feel like Star Trek.
Yeah, so that's probably, if we have any final thoughts, we kind of made it pretty clear. We're both very nervous. We don't think it looks like Star Trek. We're confused with some of the changes they've made, confused with what the timeline, which timeline it's in. So there's a bunch of things about it that we're frustrated with.
Enterprise does get a bad rap. It's okay, but it's not as good to my mind as the other ones.
So, real quick, we're going to throw this out there. Rank the Star Trek shows for us real quick.
Deep Space Nine is my absolute favorite. From there...
What's on the bottom?
Oh, Enterprise is on the bottom. From there it gets... Voyager would be next to Enterprise, but there's a huge leap up because I like Voyager a lot more than I liked Enterprise. I have a real hard time with Next Gen versus Original Series because Original Series has a lot of family memories for me, and I grew up watching it. And I can admit that realistically, Next Gen is a better show in terms of production value and the longevity of the storylines, because third season you have a lot of really terrible episodes. Spock's brain.
If you guys watching haven't seen Spock's brain, it's literally an episode where a planet filled with women steals Spock's brain out of his body while he's on the Enterprise.
Yes, and then they put
the device on his head.
and he controls it with a joystick, and he makes robotic sounds as he moves around, and so that is. I am with you. The Klingons are terrible looking. I hope, yeah.
Yes.
So I guess I'll put them tied together because there's not. Objectively speaking, I know that Next Gen is better than the original series, but I just love the original series, and I also like Captain Kirk better than I like Captain Picard. I have a T-shirt that says it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, for me,
I almost wore it today.
I'd go Next Generation, original series, Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager and Enterprise. I haven't even finished both of them, so I can't really rate them. But that's to say, I'm trying harder to finish Enterprise, and I don't have an interest in finishing Voyager. So I guess I would put that one on top. And I guess know enough about the last episode of Voyager to be like. Or no, excuse me. That's what I'm thinking about.
Last Enterprise.
Enterprise. No, so Enterprise is on the bottom for the last episode of Enterprise. Like the worst concept for a final episode. They made it a crossover with a random Next Generation episode.
So it takes place in Next Gen timeline between it's a 2-part episode.
It's related to
Command.
Pegasus.
Yeah. No. Yes, it is. It's related to Pegasus. And so Riker is trying to decide what he's going to do, and he goes, and so he spends the time going onto the holodeck and talking to all the characters from Enterprise as they are going through and figuring out what they're going to do, what's going to happen right before they found the Federation. And so it's quite impressively bad.
All right, with that said, we're going to leave and go watch the episode. We'll be back in about an hour. I don't know if we'll go live. Actually, we'll throw it to you guys. Do you want us to go live with kind of our initial thoughts to it? If you want us to, perhaps we will. Otherwise, we might record it just to have more organized thoughts since we get distracted by you guys chiming in. I might actually probably want to do both is what I'll do since I tend to have many thoughts on it. I'm not quite sure if I want to point a screen... camera at the screen. The first episode is actually debuting on CBS. So the first one you can actually watch live on TV. It's the ones after that that are only going to be on the streaming program. So, yes. If you're saying seriously, yes, seriously, CBS, the first episode, you can watch it on CBS, the TV, the channel.
In just a few minutes.
So that can happen. So there you go. All right.
Still not his wife.
Not my wife. This is my sister. It's not my mother, my daughter, or my wife. It is my sister.
We're not from anywhere that does that.
Yeah, we're not from the deep south. Born in California. And then we moved to Texas and have been in Texas a very long time. But yeah, my wife has a strict, she does not want to appear on screen ever policy. So don't expect to see her anytime soon. And we are out.